Hi there, Mrs. Gonzalez, once more with you. We are continuing to explore the decision-making process, and this week we are looking at weighing choices and consequences. We're going to be looking at a simple method that's going to help you organize and think about the choices you have and the consequences that come with those choices. That basically means we'll be exploring some pros and cons in order to weigh in on your choices before making a decision. So let's go ahead and get started here. Look at these words on your screen. Have any of you heard of this proverb before? Wait a minute, what's a proverb? Have you heard of that word before? Some of you may or may not be familiar with the word proverb, but proverbs are actually short, familiar sayings. Usually we don't know who originally said it, and it's a simple way to capture and express some truth or piece of wisdom. So what does our proverb here mean? The look before you leap. Do you know? Can you guess? Well, you may have guessed that at the core of this proverb, it's telling us to think about the consequences before we act. So this proverb actually ties in perfectly to this week's SEL Spotlight as we approach this next step in the decision-making process, weighing choices and consequences. So I want you to think about this scenario. You and your four friends, so four other people, you have been pretty close to each other, with your friendships growing up together since you were all since you were 5 years old, we'll say. And all of you do everything together. So it's you, four other people. You have been waiting for a certain concert for months. And when tickets go on sale, each person in your group of friends tries to get as many tickets as possible, but sadly, none of you were successful. I, on the other hand, have been able to get a total of 3 tickets to go to this concert, and I had a last-minute change of plans and have generously decided to donate these tickets to you and your friends. Here's the thing, though. Obviously, it's just 3 tickets. It's 1 for you plus 2 more. And you have to decide which 2 of your 4 lifelong friends will go to the concert with you and which will not. This is a hard decision, especially since you have all been, pretty close to each other since childhood and have done things together all the time. So how would you make this decision? I'll give you a moment to think about it. And now I ask you to pause this video and write down how you would make this decision in the video comments below. If you want to share and maybe compare with some other scholars as far as how they would make this decision. So hopefully you had a chance to pause the video and write your video comments below. My question, again, how did you make the decision? What information did you consider? Did you think about the positive and negative information about each friend? Did you think about the long-term consequences of picking one person over the other? Did some of you decide that maybe you would rather not go at all because of the long-term effects it would have on your friendships if you didn't all go as a group? What's the point of the scenario? Well, you've just completed a very important step in the decision-making process. I know it was hypothetical, but it actually was a very important step because you had to weigh in on your choices and the consequences that come with making certain decisions. And actually, whether you realize it or not, you do this every day. This decision-making process is done every day. And in order to become a better decision maker, it's important to become aware of how we think through that step. So how can you organize and think about your choices? In the video comments not the video comments, but the video description, my apologies, of this video, I want you to click on the bit.ly link that is there, and it will actually take you to a document that I will show on the screen in a bit, because it's going to help you answer this question here. Is there a way to organize and think about your choices and consequences? Yes, there is. As you see here, this form, and hopefully you clicked on the link and you have it in front of you in a fillable format. At the very top of this form, it's called Make It Easy. So it's an easy way for you to organize your thoughts, you think about the consequences and the pros and cons of each one of your options that you have, or choices that you have for making a decision. So as you can see up at the top, it says decision question to be answered. So for example, in our scenario earlier, the decision question to be answered was, what 2 lifelong friends to bring to the concert? So I put that in there. Under the options column, you will list out different options you are considering. So in our previous example, I just listed some. I probably, with this particular scenario, would be using 2, maybe 3 pages with just all the different choices that I had. But for simplicity, I'm only sticking to 1 page here. And as you can see, these are the different choices that I listed. So take friend A and B. I just labeled my friends A, B, C, and D. Take friend B and C, go alone, not go at all. And depending on the decision, you may not need to fill out every row. Sometimes you may only have a yes or no choice, or maybe just stick to 3. It really depends on the situation. So the next thing you'll want to do is list the consequences for each option or choice that you have. And this will go in that second column. The consequences are all of those that will affect not just you, but other people around you. And think about the long-term effects, not just what will happen right now. So a decision may feel right and good right now, but worse later with the long-term effects. So as you can see, I listed some here. The hurt friend C and D's feelings, so these are the friends that are not going. Those are probably going to be short-term and long-term effects. There's also have fun with friend A and B, and that's going to be a, effect in the now, right? Lose C and D friendships. Those are long-term effects. So you can see that going down this column here. I just listed some of the possible consequences that can come from making those different choices. So we're actually going to understand the plus and minus column in a little bit more, but that's actually the pros and cons. But before we go there, I want to ask you, what are pros and cons? Or I want you to understand, what are pros and cons? So pros are positive, desirable consequences, good reasons for doing something. The cons are negative, undesired consequences, reasons to go, or reasons against something. So reasons to not do something. So when you're considering all the consequences on your sheet, going back here, think of whether it is a positive or negative consequence. If it's a positive, you'll put a plus in the pros column. And if it's a negative consequence that you wouldn't want to happen, you'll put a negative sign in that column. If a consequence is especially good or especially bad, make a double plus or a double minus symbol, or even a third plus or third minus symbol, depending on how bad you think it is. And after you finished inputting your plus and minus for each, then what you'll do is you'll add up the pluses and minuses for each option and write that total in that specific box. So, you'd write it here on the side somewhere. And now that you have your totals for pros and cons for each choice, it's time to draw conclusions and eventually make a logical decision on what to go with. So what that final decision will be is going to look very different for everyone. Why? Well, pros and cons will be different according to different people based on their ethics, their values, their priorities. In other words, things that are important to me are not necessarily important to everyone else. For example, here I gave it 3 plus signs to have friends with A and B. And maybe if you were filling this out, friend A and B, you would only give this 1 plus sign. So everyone has different criteria that they would deem, different things as pros and cons. Okay. So once you have considered and weighed the different choices you have, you make your decision and write it down on the bottom of this chart. And that's where you would put your decision. And this decision belongs to you, and you alone are responsible for it. And I guess that's one thing that I do have to say that's the same for everyone, is that responsibility of our choices lies on us at the end, individually. At the end of the day, we each must make our own decisions, and we must live with our own decisions and those consequences. So that's, I guess, one thing that we all share. So what other techniques can help you make good decisions? Have any other any other ideas or any other techniques you've used have worked for you? If you'd like to share, feel free to use the video comments below, your other techniques that have worked for you. If during this video you found that you didn't have a plan for making good decisions or weighing in on all your different choices and consequences, I really do invite you to save a copy of that Make It Easy sheet and use it next time that you have to make an important decision. It should help you make better decisions in less time, actually, and make you feel better about the different choices that you, or the different decisions that you make, because you looked at all your different choices you had, the consequences, and the pros and cons. So we are coming to an end here, and I do want to thank you for joining me, and I hope this video today brings a lot of value to your life. This is Mrs. Gonzalez signing off.